everybody, and welcome to the last episode of the pilot series of Chimdi with the CheatSheet podcast. Today, we'll be talking about entrepreneurship, and we have a very wonderful entrepreneur in the house, Mr. Joe, who's going to be talking to us about all things entrepreneurship, how you can get into that, and where you can find him at the end of the show. Welcome, Mr. Joe.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, Chimdi.
Yes. Welcome, Mr. Joe. So tell us about you. I know who you are, but people will know you. So who are you and what do you do?
Okay, I'm Joseph Edogbeni.
Okay.
I'm the founder of HEYRU Canada Inc. I trade as HEYRU. I have two line of businesses. I have products where I bring in natural food products from Africa, process them in Manitoba, and sell them across Canada. My other business service, I provide freight forwarding services, and I trade under the Landstar Transport company based in Florida. So I'm based in Winnipeg. I do mostly international for small businesses looking to either import or export into new markets. I provide trade advisory, insights, and also provide rates as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is so wonderful.
thank you.
And I know when I first learned about like your freight business, I was like, wow, Mr. Joe does this too? Yes, but HEYRU, like I like the tea. So I have the tea here. This is the sweet potato one, and I really like it. It's really nice. But with entrepreneurship, why did you get into entrepreneurship? How did you get into that?
Well, I've been doing entrepreneurship all my life, I would say. Yeah. So I started my very first enterprise as an undergraduate back in the days in Nevada.
Okay.
So I started a graphic studio and also a photo studio. After that, I moved to Lagos, incorporated printing press, then get into enterprise solutions, on, and just keep evolving
Okay.
until I moved to Canada.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it's just I was born to just do business.
Okay.
I've also worked in between all of that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like that has always been what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Even I then hawking on the streets as a little child
Okay.
during holidays, make money for my uniform,
Mm-hmm.
for things,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I knew from earlier on in life that just born to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's wonderful that it's something you've always done since undergrad. Because some of our listeners might be in like maybe high school or university or just graduated and thinking, "Can I do this entrepreneurship thing?" But just to see how you've grown with entrepreneurship over the years, and now your brand is like you can find them in some of the grocery stores in Winnipeg, and so that's really wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I love doing business generally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say it can be a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
in this part of the world if you happen to start heading.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of support for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of support.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, like starting early in this part of the world, because many youths have access to different supports, but now they need to know about these supports. So, what what would you recommend?
Well, I will also say that the government intentionally actually a program around like youth,
Okay.
like you probably know Futurepreneur is
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And then part of the focus between age 19 to 39,
Okay.
that's more like get out of high school, figure it out. So if
Mm-hmm.
you really want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
they are what support in terms of actually like from like writing a business plan,
Mm-hmm.
providing you with a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and they also have grant and
Okay.
also have loan.
Okay.
So I would say those are more like structured environment. But I also know from like communities, there are a lot of communities across, even in Manitoba,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they are like generational Canadian communities, maybe you can connect to them
Mm-hmm.
at farmers market, or
Mm-hmm.
even from our own other communities that are migrants that
Mm-hmm.
is involving a lot in Nigerian community for instance.
Yes.
There are a lot of businesses coming up, even groceries. For me, I will always say be wrong with asking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the worst you get is gonna be no. But at least
Yes.
now you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's just my take on that.
Yeah, that is so true. So it's, for the listeners, there's always support. You can check it out. There's Futurepreneur. Another one for those interested in tech is NotForge.
Mhm.
So they're the U of M campus in Manitoba, and they help youth who are interested in doing some tech solutions or innovations. I think even up to manufacturing, from your business case to funding to getting you ready to pitch to have like angel investors. It's a great program, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also I have I'm not sure I have it right of background. There are websites actually
Mm.
that will tell you in terms of like funding
Okay.
that you can get from anywhere in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
if the government or provincial
Mm-hmm.
or even local government,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So, but like I said, I would say there are a lot of support now
Mm-hmm.
with technology, a lot of information with
Mm-hmm.
AI. There's hardly anything you want to do, I would say somebody hasn't done
Mm-hmm.
or somebody's not doing something similar.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is your niche, what you want to do, how you want to go about it. You always find your space.
That is so
Yeah.
true. That is so true. And I'm glad you mentioned AI. So now everybody's like AI is taking people's jobs, or AI is affecting business or affecting entrepreneurs. What's your take on that? And how do you see AI either helping businesses or new entrepreneurs or maybe stopping their business?
Well, I just say I use AI as my own assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't see AI taking my job
Mm-hmm.
or my staff's job or
Okay.
anybody's job.
Mm-hmm.
That's from what I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I wouldn't tell for some other
Mm-hmm.
industries or what other people
Mm-hmm.
use with AI, but I
Okay.
can speak for myself that I don't think it's meant to take any job, but rather it to be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see that it can be very stressful doing research, doing a lot of things. And with AI, you can do that. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing you need to learn is how can you really optimize AI. That's
Mm-hmm.
all you need to learn.
That's
Once you
true.
learn that, you understand all of that, and with that, you can start deploying things as
Mm-hmm.
time comes. And usually, I really don't dwell on it, to be sincere.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
only use it when I really need it.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm not the kind of person that will have to rely on AI for stuff.
Okay.
My brain doesn't function that way.
Okay.
Normally, I would do stuff. Then when I need clarity,
Mm-hmm.
then I just do a little research, and it's
Mm-hmm.
usually quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So using AI as a tool to improve your business proper
Yeah, yeah,
processes
yeah,
for more efficiency.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah. Also for clarity, because
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of data, like a lot of warehouses that AI can reach out to
Mm-hmm.
like pull resources,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be stunned to see some things even your competitors are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool.
That's really nice because I know, for example, there's some AI platforms that have like deep research. So if
Mhm.
you turn on that deep research function, to give you all this like articles, publications, and stuff like that, so you can actually follow up if you're really
Yeah,
interested in that.
yeah. In those, I actually prefer like properly published research ones.
Mm.
Like, yeah, those ones I usually most times they are paid for. So you
Okay.
just have to like, but if you have like subscription on some AI,
Mm-hmm.
so to access this data.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the days, Google, you can do that with Google.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to use Google a lot for that. When
Okay.
I'm searching, but I
Mm-hmm.
need to do a PDF behind whatever I'm searching.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Immediately
Okay.
just take into those documents that are inside of some you have to buy it.
Okay.
Then you know that somebody has taken time to
Mm-hmm.
research on this
That's true.
and has come up with a finding. So that makes your research work ahead. So you
Mm-hmm.
spend less time on that.
Wow, that's really valuable, honestly,
Yeah.
to see how, you have done entrepreneurship for many years now, and like, you're taking all the new tools along with you, and you're not like against it, but using that to help you improve your entrepreneurship business, which is really wonderful, you know? And I guess the next question I have on here is like, how does one become an entrepreneur? You talked about something you tried from when you were young, but like, say somebody was in university about to graduate and they're like, I think I want to do business. How could they become one?
Well, I would say once you start giving it a thought,
Mm-hmm.
most likely
Okay.
it is. But that's not to say you can.
Okay. Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
we can be able to function as an entrepreneur in different way, different from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you might find yourself in a space whereby you're better off to be an entrepreneur. Let's
Okay.
say, for instance, you're so gifted and then you're able to develop like a solution
Mm-hmm.
or like whatever
Mm-hmm.
to address an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then your personal health is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means, okay, you have that solution, somebody have to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't stop you from being a business, but then that's an opportunity for you to look for a partner
Mm-hmm.
who value what you bring in, then who can run it.
So collaboration.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but to now say, so that's just need to do your personal assessment
Mm-hmm.
to see because I'm grateful to God that in a way, like my work schedule, the way I work, kind of like it drains a lot. Yeah, but in a way, I've been able to learn how to find the balance. I eat good food.
Okay.
I love food.
Okay.
Yes, and I love to sleep. Yes, I don't play with that. Those two things does help me. So you pay attention to your health. But it's very important. If you're not careful, you might lose it. Especially in this part of the world because there's no help. So many things happen. Human resource.
Yeah.
Unlike from back home, there's a lot of human resource. You barely lift your hand. You just throw the idea that you start speaking.
Yes.
But yeah, you have to
Yes.
run the whole thing.
Yes.
It's not that cheap, right? So it takes a lot to so to be sincere, you need to do first. Okay, this is what you're thinking about it. The question is, does the circumstance allow it at this moment? Does the circumstance allow this in the future? When you need to do that proper self-assessment. So if it works, it's fine. If it means you have to like find a partner, share same vision, but I think it's better easier that way. Yeah. So for me, anybody can be a business person. You don't need to be an extrovert to be a business person. So you just need to understand your circumstance, do your self-evaluation, and see how best you can execute your intentions or what you're thinking about. But I just know once you start giving it a thought, most likely it's a good thing. You need to be truthful to yourself, do self-assessment to see will your circumstance carry you through. Otherwise, what kind of collaboration, what kind of way, but there are many ways you can still achieve your dreams and aspirations.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. That piece about balance and understanding your circumstance, because it's very important, because sometimes there's like so much hustle culture on social media. It's like if you're sleeping, you're just wasting time. Every hour needs to be getting you money, that kind of thing. But coming from you who has, really established your businesses, it's nice to see that there's that balance, and also that realistic piece too about being like knowing what your circumstances. If somebody has like maybe 5 courses and they're full time, and they have 2 jobs, maybe like a semi part-time job on top of that. Like starting a business too might be challenging, but you present that option of maybe collaborating with people, just to make it accessible, so they still, fulfill that passion and interest, but they're still doing what they want to do. So that's really nice.
Good you mentioned that. Another thing also to think about is that if you really want to do business this part of the world, it's difficult to be working multiple jobs. Yeah, you might swear it's a give and take.
Okay.
Because whatever you're working for is a time that is taken from you.
Yes.
So by the time you exhaust that time, I really don't see where the resources for the order to think about your business is there. Therefore, you have bills to pay. I also know that if your audience, I believe they are younger, they probably maybe they still have some family support. I would say you want to make hay while the sun is
Yes.
so you don't want to wait because now it's time to get everything you like set in motion. Then you have to like plan your short time, your long time. You have to plan everything before you actually start. But it can be draining. So if you really want to say, okay, because I'll give you an example. If you want to develop products, it's more time consuming.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. But for instance, if your business is service driven, yes, it's a lot because you can divide the time. Okay, you're gonna put time to go work for someone. They can put in time to devote to your own side also. Because it's a service, maybe you're using your skill set or your network to do that. But if it's a product development where you have to go to market, you have to develop your brand. It's very difficult to do multi-job with that. So that's from our own personal experience I've seen. Yeah, and from others as well.
Yeah, well, I really like what you said about like knowing the different kinds of entrepreneurship, whether that's like service-based or like you're creating a product. Because sometimes you just hear I'm an entrepreneur, but everybody's like, I'm making 1 million a month. I don't know which side they might be on. But like you talked about, it's 2 different streams and understanding where you fit. Because I would say for me, I've dabbled in entrepreneurship, and I use the word dabbled because I had lots of learning opportunities through that. And my first enterprise, I would say, was like a physical product. I was creating products, so I enjoy knitting. So I was like, oh, I can, knit some stuff. And it was not just small things. I was just like, I was knitting full on sweater. So like this shirt you're wearing, like I knitted something like that with you changing all the colors, because some people will say, oh, this is fine, let me just buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of time it takes to pick the color, source the color, finish it, the amount of physical toll it took on me and like my hands to do it, I was like, wow, one, this is not sustainable. Two, this is not scalable. I was just, when I first started, I was like, excitement and vibes. I was like, oh, I can do this. 2 + 2 = 4. I'll make the money kind of thing. But, I learned from that. And I'm glad you shared that in terms of like the time commitment to take for a product-based business. And so I did not understand that when I first dabbled in business. But now if going into business again, I'm leaning more towards that service side. So then I believe it could be more scalable, reach more audiences. I can manage my time more, but I still do what I want to do, which is business. So I guess now we can take this forward. So if somebody wants to do a service-based business, what advice would you give to them? If somebody wants to do like a product-based business, what advice would you give to them specific?
Okay. Yeah. For product-based business, I will always say it all depends on, let's say, the ticket value.
Okay.
And also, is it going to be complementary products? Is it like one single product? A
Mm,
lot of questions to ask.
okay.
You also want to think about the entire fulfillment process.
Mm,
That's something like when you're designing the packaging, you have to think about shipping.
mm-hmm,
And then are you looking at a local business where you just sell locally?
mm-hmm,
Is it gonna be national across Canada?
mm-hmm,
Because shipping is very expensive in Canada. These are all the things you need to figure out
mm-hmm,
because that's what will make you to make the sales or not.
mm-hmm.
So then you also want to think about the B2B aspect of things.
Okay.
Yeah, because what I learned earlier on
Mm-hmm.
was that my business plan was based on B2B.
Okay. And B2B stands for business to business.
Yes,
Yes.
that was my plan because I have a retail background a little bit from back home,
Okay.
and I really enjoy it. It's so stressful,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I do not have the human resources to do it here.
Mm-hmm.
So I did model my business after that.
Okay.
But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Just within, I was barely 1 year in it,
Mm-hmm.
I realized no way.
Mm-hmm.
I had a meeting with World Trade Center,
Okay.
and I met with their marketing committee and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So these guys gave me interesting because they meet a lot of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had a meeting with them, they showed me, Joseph, have you thought about how difficult it is to sell or for someone to buy from a known new business, knowing fully
Mm.
that they want to buy an ingredient that the entire business they do depends on it?
Oh.
That question, man. Well,
Wow.
I thought it's Canadian business. Cool. No.
Uh-huh.
They will have to measure that one.
Okay.
Not to even let it be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna switch to you
That's true.
because nothing is giving them motivation. The
Mm-hmm.
risks outweighs the cost you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they factor all of that into their pricing and everything is going smooth.
Yeah.
Except if there's scarcity. And
Mm-hmm.
they might want to give you a try there, but if you want to wait for scarcity, then it might never happen. So these are the questions that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You won't believe that within a month I switched.
Oh wow.
Then I'd already built my brand, but then it wasn't like developed based on B2C. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to start that element of that B2C. Start
Okay.
develop. So it's what like another journey. That's something
Wow.
that they figure out earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something B2C, even if your business is not meant to be B2B, except you're buying an existing business that has a brand and clientele already,
Mm-hmm.
then you know you just continue.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start from the scratch, B2B is a way to get your brand out for people to know about it. Guess what? I still do my B2B. Or rather, I said B2C is a way to get your brand out.
Mm-hmm.
The B2B is still my interest because that's where you can get volume going
Okay.
and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but then the B2C make the B2B reach out to you because they see your
Okay.
activity, they see you at the market. Like today, now I got cars from a B2B that want to carry my stuff,
Oh
carry
wow.
my product, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I didn't have those B2C elements, it's so difficult to approach
Mm-hmm.
and to reach out. It will be so big because you have to spend a lot of money going to trade event. Even at that, you're still not known.
Mm-hmm.
So, but B2C lend your name out there. Like part of our group and next, we'll be doing a lot of B2B trade events and things like
Okay.
that. And hopefully that we have the B2C brand around us already. When people are doing some sessionals as a B2B, it helps mitigate the risk without even stressing.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that.
Wow.
So for services,
Mm-hmm.
every industry is different. I
Okay.
can only speak from my own
Okay.
perspective. I'm in the transport industry as
Mm-hmm.
a freight forwarder. For services, usually you're not losing anything
Mm-hmm.
because there's a cost, you add your margin, and
Okay.
it's predetermined from the scratch.
That's true.
But for products,
Mm-hmm.
it's unlike that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of layers of costs. See the marketing, there's just too much to think about. But for service driven, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier. When I started my product development, that's my love. My migration to Canada was based on that,
Okay.
and that's what I genuinely want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know from the one that this is going to be a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
That was why I used my supply chain skills and certifications to start my freight brokerage
Okay.
as something to get source for forex and start
Mm-hmm.
getting money into my corporation
Mm-hmm.
so that I can keep developing my product line.
Mm-hmm.
So I started that actually before my product got to market. I've been doing freight, but
Okay.
it wasn't what I want to be known for
Okay.
because I really want to develop my brand around my product.
Okay.
So that was why my emphasis earlier on was more on the product. Now that that is established, now I'm beginning to like let you know I do freight, I have
Okay.
freight clients,
Mm-hmm.
and that was why last year I was able to join Landstar as a
Okay.
result of that as an independent freight agent. So to usually your cost these days is your laptop, your internet,
Mm-hmm.
phone. That's it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, usually your training, your skills, your certifications
Mm-hmm.
open doors for you to
Mm-hmm.
get those connections, get into those networks,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So that will be what you're bringing in for
Yeah.
services. It's a lot more of networking,
Mm-hmm.
your connections, your social connections. How do you leverage on that for
Yes.
service? So
Yes.
that's where I look at. For me, service is always a easier way, especially if you have the personality for it.
Okay.
Because that requires a lot of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you plan before you go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
you actually target yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to exchange card with one or two people
Mm-hmm.
while you go? You're not just going to just show your face.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be intentional. When
Mm-hmm.
you want to go to events, you want to go to places, you want to research who's gonna be there,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to arrive early.
Mm-hmm.
All of that very important. You have to be very, very strategic
Mm-hmm.
because once the event starts, you're not the one running the show.
That's true.
So you see that you come early, or if you have some other commitment, you want to come late.
Mm-hmm.
Or it all depends. You have to like be very, very
Strategy.
strategic
Mm-hmm.
about it. Especially here, things don't just happen.
Mm-hmm.
So people just want to show for the earlier part of it. They will have other commitment they go to.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So it's a lot of planning.
Wow.
Yes.
So what I've heard now is like planning, understanding that entrepreneurship is like a long-term, game.
Yeah.
And you had like, let's say, some backup or support with your freight business first, getting some money into HEYRU right now. And then also like certifications and, past experience that has helped you be more comfortable in it. Because I think now on like your social media, you see like it's easy to make money as an entrepreneur quick. Nobody talks about that long term. Nobody talks too much about that product development, the supply chain. It's just like you start today, you make money tomorrow.
Well, social media is good for inspirations.
Mm-hmm.
But then anytime you get inspired, you
Mm-hmm.
need to go to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
Like your circumstance, whoever is making $1 million, you do not know the connection to which that $1 million is coming.
That is true.
So because I might just have a client that is buying big and he has plenty of retail stores to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good volume.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. But will it be for everybody? So understanding the industry you're in,
Mm-hmm.
like me, when I was developing my product, organic market was growing at that space I operate.
Mm-hmm.
And but then the question is, who has the biggest pie?
Mm-hmm.
Bigger guys to control. In as much as
Yeah.
it's growing amongst the big chains.
Okay.
And that's what that is. For you to get a pie of that, you still have to get local
Mm-hmm.
and connect to that local. That's why you have to like tap to the local market,
Mm-hmm.
which my business was not initially developed around. I
Okay.
was developed more like to work with the big businesses. I work with distributors. For me, that was a mistake on my part. I should
Okay.
have, if I initially like develop my business more like from the farmers market approach,
Okay.
that would have been a good way. Not feeling that I'm doing my freight
Okay.
So, but because it was more on the B2B, I want to set the big retailers
Mm-hmm.
and distributors, so that's still kind of a mismatch
Mm-hmm.
because I really didn't get, when you're doing research online or through even
Mm-hmm.
books,
Mm-hmm.
research book, publications, it's totally different from when you're in
Yes.
the environment.
Yes.
So these are things I've learned
Mm-hmm.
as like it's a mistake, but I've learned from it by
Mm-hmm.
trying to pivot, correct it,
Mm-hmm.
and like take the next step because you're gonna make plenty of it. The question is what
Mm-hmm.
you do with those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how you said, you've taken those learning opportunities to grow because it's one thing to, yes, you've done your research, you've read all the papers, the theory, but in reality it's different. And I know, like, I was having a conversation earlier with someone and it was like, well, before they came to Canada as a student, they had, researched everything, but nobody was telling them the real life story. Until they now came and they were like, oh my,
Yeah.
textbook internet versus reality is different. So that piece about mentorship, just talking to people who are in what you want to get into makes a world of difference. Because then there's some nuances you might not understand, or maybe somebody might tell you, oh, come to this farmer's market on Saturday. And you're like, oh, I did not consider a farmer's market, And people don't know what the farmer's market is where actual farmers can sell their produce. So if you have natural stuff or baked goods, you can sell your stuff there. And people come, usually in the summer, and people come and enjoy that. And so it's like nuances like that. It's somebody as simple as telling you, oh, for example, if you're a student, you can go and meet your professor during office hours to ask them a question about you didn't understand. Some people would not know that, be like, oh, the professor is there. I should not talk to the professor. Those differences. And I'm glad you've learned from that. And I understand you're also a mentor helping new entrepreneurs, build their own business so they don't make those same mistakes that you've made too.
Yeah, the world makes their own mistakes.
Yes.
That's just straight up line.
Yes.
For me, it's part of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you will always run into it. Even me, I also had some mentors when I got
Mm-hmm.
here that actually made the mistake a lot less.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things I also learned from even in
Yes.
Nigerian professionals Manitoba.
Yes.
Those like professionals, old schools that have experienced life here. Some
Mm-hmm.
have actually had businesses in the past year.
Mm-hmm.
But things have also changed because
That's true.
when they were here then, things were no more open up.
Mm-hmm.
The society in general wasn't big to anything ethnic and things
Mm-hmm.
like that because things were still new. But
Mm-hmm.
now society has evolved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People are open to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
People are very adventurous. Things have really changed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was saying to you when I first started my hibiscus, I said it as a loose leaf by itself.
Okay.
It was a big challenge because then the society just know hibiscus as an ingredient in any floral tea.
Okay.
They never knew you could have it by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, we have Zobo juice,
Yes,
and this is what
Zobo.
it's all about.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, people always think maybe it has to be in a certain dose to have it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just like something. It's as
Yes.
simple as that.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting how the
Mm-hmm.
society has evolved.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Which means opportunities are opening up. That's what it is.
Yeah, lots of opportunities coming up. And so even as we're talking about, the difference between like, making people aware of like hibiscus, we call it Zobo sometimes. Like I thought about, the value of your brand because I remember one day I think I went to Safeway and I saw your brand. I think I sent you a picture about it because I was like, this is so cool. So how did you build your brand's value that people now see your brand with respect to like recognize your brand?
Okay. Yeah, that brand did just start here
Mhm.
actually. I started it from Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're doing something different. We're doing fashion, we're adding boutique stuff,
Okay.
and we're doing a lot of online
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So, but it was actually started from Nigeria with the intention of bringing it to Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the entire logo from Nigeria is different from Canada because when I
Okay.
got here, it's a different. They're beginning to observe.
Mm-hmm.
So the process of developing that, it took me like almost 2 years to finalize that process.
Wow.
Yes, I engaged a graphic artist then. So my meeting with her, she was like, wow, I, I know what I want, but she hasn't worked with anything like this before, but we're
Okay.
gonna figure it out.
Okay.
So we'll work, she will go on leave for like on a break for like 2 months, and we have but it's helping me because all of that make the whole process iterative. So it's kind of like a natural process that I evolved. So
Mm-hmm.
by the time I land with that logo, that font, and all of that, because I had a professional guidance. I
Okay.
also have a background in graphics just
Okay.
for my own personal pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then to have someone who understand how you can use that to as a marketing tool,
Mm-hmm.
that's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So she was able to put all of that together using
Mm-hmm.
my ideas that I want. I need all I want to do is present art to
Mm-hmm.
Canadian
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that brand was
Mm-hmm.
able to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So tell my story around that. So
Yeah.
for me, when you see my boots anywhere, you don't need to like talk too much.
Yes.
You just know. You feel natural. You
Mm-hmm.
feel this is Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and you just I don't need to talk too much.
Yes.
So it speaks for itself. That's
Yes.
kind of feel. Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to say you want to be like define what your brand is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Once you can define that, what
Mm-hmm.
you want it to be,
Yes.
then you can usually like create your brand, type of logo, your name,
Mm-hmm.
all of that around it,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be
Okay.
that will get you there.
Wow. Because wow. So, Mr. Joe, we've talked a lot about entrepreneurship, and you
Mhm.
have a very extensive and wonderful background.
Thank you.
And so, thank you for sharing your knowledge with our listeners here today. And so, another question I have is, it's one thing to have an idea of, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to start a business. But what if somebody just has an idea, but they don't have
Mhm.
capital? Can they still start a business?
Yes, you can. Why
Okay.
not? But an idea means nothing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I will say the easiest and the best way is to spend yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have an idea, you have to turn it into a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody wants to fund an idea. Nobody wants to like put money
Mm-hmm.
to an idea.
Mm-hmm.
People want to be practical. If I
Mm-hmm.
want to put my money into an idea, could it be that I know you before
Mm-hmm.
and we've done things in the past?
It's
Then
true.
I believe your idea. So
Mm-hmm.
if that history is not there,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult. Then people also are motivated when they see you in it.
Okay.
So if you can put in your time,
Mm-hmm.
your money
Okay.
into that idea,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a reason for somebody else to say, okay, this is not my idea.
Okay. It's
So
something.
for me, an idea is not sufficient.
Okay.
If you really believe in your idea, then you will have to turn into your business
Mm-hmm.
by putting in your money, your own savings. You have to put
Mm-hmm.
it in there,
Mm-hmm.
then your time. If
Wow.
people can see that, then there's a business. For me, an idea, okay, there are too many of it. I get ideas every day.
Mm-hmm.
It means nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
can put a plan. AI can even put into a plan. It
Mm-hmm.
means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But once I start to work it,
Mm-hmm.
yes, then you see people. That's where your social network, your connections, and things like that. Like I have friends I reach out to. Let's say, for instance, the inflow is kind of slow, and I have bills to pay. I reach out to friends, associates who have history together. They just get the money to you quickly, so the circle get back on
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about momentum, right?
That's true.
So you need those kind of connections with your family members, things like that. So no one will put money to an idea. That's my belief. Maybe a technology driven idea or something like that, but only somebody will understand the idea. Yeah, but to a lay angel investor, we just want to, I don't know how that would work. I'm just thinking from my own perspective that it's a lot easier to get people to buy in when they can see your time and money in it.
Yeah. So that implementation piece, so it's like you need to show your commitment to this idea you have, and show that it can become bigger or something
Yeah,
from it.
let's say develop a product now. Yeah, where's the prototype? So
Mm-hmm.
if you can spend your money to put in a prototype
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to see, and
Mm-hmm.
now it can work.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it an idea? Anybody can put up an idea. Yeah, you have to like people have to see it. So to write a bogus business plan, sorry, I call it bogus. God has so many business plans.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then when you start working it,
Mm-hmm.
then it's easier to now speak to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thinking.
Okay.
So, but don't forget every industry is
Every
different.
industry is
Every
different.
solution is different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow. That's very interesting. Like having something tangible to show in one way or the
tangible.
other. you know, because I even think even like with apps, they have like the MVP, so it's almost like a fake app. It might be a slideshow, but you're just screen.
Yeah.
Okay, screen one will look like this. If you press this button, it's meant to look like this.
Yeah.
You know, that could be an MVP too for an app. So I guess different industries have different ways of showing
Yeah.
the tangible version of
Yeah.
it. Okay. Yeah. So my other question now is about a degree in entrepreneurship.
Mm.
What do you think about that? Is it you think one person somebody needs to have that degree in entrepreneurship to actually get into entrepreneurship, or can they start get mentorship like you mentioned, or and go from there?
I also believe in talent and gifts
Talent
when
and
it comes.
gifts.
I believe that
Okay.
some are gifted. That's why I say to you that I haven't said that about there are, okay, back in days, our great grandfather never been in school. They are the millionaires, billionaires, and this,
Mm-hmm.
that. They don't even know how to write their name.
That's true.
Meanwhile, they own businesses.
That's true.
So, because they are gifted to see it,
Mm-hmm.
to provide solutions, to provide products, things like that. So, going to do a degree in entrepreneurship and maybe that could help to get a job to work for someone else who
Okay.
wouldn't even do entrepreneurship,
Okay.
but is practicing it.
Okay.
So it's good, but things have changed a lot. I don't think you even need too much of that.
Mm.
There's so much to learn. For me, having to go study degree in entrepreneurship, that's how many years to do that?
A few years, maybe.
No, I don't think you need to really, except you're doing that with the intention of going to work in an environment to manage somebody else's business.
Okay.
So, but to say you want to do business, that's why you're doing to study entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you're done with that, your ideas would have faded. And by
Mm.
then you might have, you're like, okay, why did I even start this?
Mm.
Yeah. So I really don't think you need a degree in entrepreneurship
Mm-hmm.
to do business. That I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did like my university days. I did economics a lot up to my 400
Economics.
level.
Okay.
So, but I could say helped me a little bit, but it's not really. I wouldn't say it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's what really helped in a way.
Mm-hmm.
God, of a truth, what I was doing or what I do really doesn't really need that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it just helped me to just see the global market to understand it. That's what it has helped. But you don't really need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So many information public everywhere to read. You just need to go to the right source. Also, going to events like seminar, conferences, trade events relating to the industry
Mm-hmm.
is very important.
Wow.
That one you get really like first hand. And
First
that's
time.
also a good place to get mentor.
Okay.
People might just connect to you there
Mm-hmm.
and they become your friends
Mm-hmm.
and they guide you.
Wow. That's great. So somebody has the idea, they create like a
A prototype.
prototype, and then go to these events, network, possibly get a mentor, maybe get funding from the government or somewhere, and then their business is in progress,
I'll
you know?
give you an example when I developed my tea.
Okay.
Packaging was something very key
Okay.
in terms of that. Initially, I'm used to teas in tins
Mm-hmm.
because when it comes to loose leaf, usually they're mostly in tins and things like that. So, but then someone introduced me to like who eventually became my mentor up to now, and it's like number one tea blender in Manitoba, if not one of the best in Canada. And it's done very well for loose leaf tea and things like that. He said to me, Joseph, everybody's moving away from tin. You come to
Mm-hmm.
my cafe, you see these tins in there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay for bulk, just keep it and all that. But want to sell it at a retail, nobody wants to have it in a tin.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, that without, because it's a believer of paper,
Mm-hmm.
recycle, things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Okay.
So it was because of that that kind of stuff came into
Okay.
the paper kind of stuff. So that conversation.
Okay.
And I didn't tell him what I was gonna do. It was my research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that like prompted me a lot of that. because I was doing shea butter then, and I
Okay.
wanted to do lip balm, and I was gonna use paper for that instead of
Okay.
plastic,
Mm.
and all of that. And I abandoned that. I focused on that tea more.
Mm-hmm.
So that in the course of all that,
Mm.
that's where I landed in that paper canister,
Wow.
and I was one of the first few people that had that. Yeah, that's part of what really like gave me into entrance. People once they see, they're like, oh, I want this on my shelf, things like that.
Yeah, because the canister looks really nice. It's
Yeah,
like you will not tell it's not a tin unless you come up and you touch it and
yeah,
you realize, oh, it's like just hard paper.
yeah,
And I like that eco piece where it's also recyclable
yeah.
and still protecting the environment. Wow. Mr. Joe, we've had a very wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
We've learned so much from you.
Thank you so much.
And I guess, tell us, how do we find your business, your products? How can we get more information?
Okay, for my products,
Mm-hmm.
my website is shopheyru.com.
Okay. Okay.
shopheyru.com. And for my freight services is heyru.ca.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So do you have any final words for our listeners?
Well, like we're talking,
Mm-hmm.
when you start thinking about it, most likely it is,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean you have to at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the time to really dig in,
Mm-hmm.
to do self-assessment, and don't be afraid to make that step.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to make the step, misstep, than not make a step at all.
That is so wonderful.
Thank you.
Make a step, make a misstep instead of not making it at all. Mr. Joe, thank you very much for being on this podcast and being our final guest for this pilot series. It's a wonderful way to wrap it up.
Thank you
And
so much.
guest listeners, you can find the remaining episodes wherever you saw this episode, and look forward for more episodes in the future, possibly, or this could be the end of it. We'll never know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.